Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Doug and I'm back with another fountain pen review. About a month ago I was contacted by a gentleman from Australia representing a pen company I had never heard of before. Now, that's nothing new. There are plenty of things around the world that I've never heard of before.
Oh my god, what a fucking nightmare!
I was offered one of their new flex pens for review, Aaron's Beta Flex Fountain Pen in Deep Ocean, and I was pointed to their website. I knew I had seen this nib in acrylic material before in both the BlueDew Flex Pen from the Philippines and the Lorelei 691 from China. So I asked him some questions about the origins of the pen and the nib, and I got some interesting answers. I've now received the pen, and I've borrowed the BlueDew Flex Pen back from Janice Butterworth so we can compare these three very similar pens, the Lorelei, the BlueDew Flex Pen, and the Aaron Beta Flex, right now. And what I'd like to do today is go over the parts and features of this pen, show some size comparisons, some measurements, and then provide a writing sample. And after the writing sample, please stay tuned as I will talk about what I like and what I don't like so much about this fountain pen. So the pen came in this box, nice silky cardboard with the Aaron pen logo, established 2020, and it has a pull tab here, and the pen sat in that foam lining. No other documentation, but it did come with this pad of paper, 160 pages, 68 GSM paper, and it is a dot grid, a cream white dot grid, and looks very nice. Yeah. So I'll be doing my writing sample on that. First, let's talk about three pens. This is the Lorelei 691. This is the BlueDew Flex Pen. And this is the Aaron Flex Pen. The BlueDew and the Lorelei are very similar. In fact, they are identical with a couple of exceptions, the most important being the nib. The BlueDew has one of these stock steel flex nibs like the Lorelei, but the BlueDew's nib has been custom modified by Jeffrey of BlueDew Pens. You can see the custom made breather hole, and you can see those slits on the side shoulders of the nib. In my original review and comparison of these two pens, I speculated that these two pens are identical but for the customization of the nib. I believe the Chinese OEM manufacturer that built this Lorelei also built the BlueDew, and Jeffrey made the modifications himself. I'll include the link to my review of the BlueDew and the comparison of the Lorelei 691 in the description below. Now let's look at the Aaron Flex Pen. I asked them where this pen was made, and they confirmed it is made by a large OEM pen manufacturer in China for them, but that they developed and designed the nib themselves. The acrylic is identical to both the BlueDew and the Lorelei. The body style is different, of course, as it has a flat top and bottom, solid black plastic finials, and gold metal rings at the top and bottom, and a gold metal cap band. Plus the section and the barrel threads are made of metal. And the clip is different as well, and it has this ball end and is very springy. And this is a much heavier pen than the other two. It's clear to me that these three pens are made in China and possibly at the same factory. What remains to be seen is the difference in the nibs, as the three pens profess to be flex pens. The Lorelei and the Aaron nibs are identical. The feeds are identical. Only the BlueDew is unique with its custom modifications. The proof will be in the writing, of course. But let's take a closer look at the Aaron Flex Pen. Overall, the pen is made of a beautiful translucent deep blue acrylic with white swirls deep in the material. It has solid black plastic flat top and bottom finials separated from the acrylic with gold rings. The tapering gold metal clip is held in place by the screw-in top finial, and it's very springy and very usable. The cap tapers up to a large gold-colored metal cap band that has a raised center strip that has Aaron established 2020 and the Aaron logo stamped into the back. There's a very small step down to another gold metal ring that is actually the top of the cap threads on the barrel. The barrel tapers down very slightly to another gold metal ring, which separates the acrylic barrel from the black plastic end finial, which is glued in place. The cap unscrews with 1 and about a quarter turn to reveal a tapering metal section covered in black enamel paint, which has a step up towards the gold-colored steel flex nib and black plastic feed. Let's take a closer look at this nib. This is identical in every way with the nib on the Lorelei, right down to the 12 grooves on the end of the tines and the large letter B stamped into it. Those grooves break up the top surface of the metal, allowing it to flex more. There are no other markings or modifications to this nib, and the black plastic feeds are identical, with the Lorelei and the Aaron being completely interchangeable. The nib and the feed are friction fit and can be pulled out. The section unscrews to reveal a standard international metal reinforced converter. I had a hell of a time getting this converter out of the pen. I almost thought I was going to break it before it finally gave in. The reinforcement ring seems to hang up inside the section. Even just now, I had a difficult time getting it out.
So we're just done with phrasing, right? That's not a thing anymore?
The barrel has metal threads that mesh with the metal threads of the section, which is good. But a few times I've had the section unscrew while I was trying to write with the pen. A silicone O-ring at the base of that section would go a long way to stabilizing that connection. Inside of the cap, there is a ledge or step milled into it that meets up with the section of the pen to seal the nib. The cap posts securely, but not very deeply, making the pen very long and back-weighted. I do not write with this pen posted. Unposted, the pen is plenty long enough in the hand. The barrel has some good girth to it. It's very comfortable, and this section is very comfortable and not slippery at all, surprisingly, since it's made of metal, but it's not slippery at all. And these cap threads here are unobtrusive. The pen is substantial in the hand, unposted at 27 grams, and the pen as a whole is a hefty 38 grams compared to the BlueDew and the Lorelei at 20 grams each. I received this pen from Aaron Pens for a review, and their website indicates a sale price of $99.95 US with $9.95 US shipping for a total of $109.90 US. I bought the Lorelei 691 on eBay for $27.98 US with free shipping. Janice bought the BlueDew from the BlueDew website for $88 US with $15 US shipping for a total of $103 US. And it comes with 3 of the flex nibs in unscrewable collars and a leatherette pouch that has a magnetic catch. Now let's look at some size comparisons. And here is the Aaron Flex Pen with the BlueDew Flex Pen, a Tianzi piston filler, a Narwhal Porpita piston filler, and a Pelican M800 piston filler. Now let's look at them posted. And here they are posted. Now let's look at some measurements, and I'll be back with a writing sample. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. Today I'm using the paper that Aaron Pen sent along with the pen, but it's very, very smooth, doesn't feather, and I haven't found any bleed through even with heavy flexing. And this is the Aaron Flex Pen. and it has a steel flex nib, of course. And the ink today is Pelican Edelstein Sapphire. And here are some close matches to this ink from inkswatch.com. Now let's check some line variation first. The Aran pen has an advertised line variation of 0.3 millimeters to 0.5 millimeters. On my charts, this line is actually 0.2 millimeters. If I can write millimeters, no I can't. And it goes to a width of 0.5 millimeters as advertised. So this is a very fine line indeed. Now before I write any more with this pen, here's my disclaimer. I suck at flex writing.
That's right, it sucks.
I'm no calligrapher. I don't have the patience. I find the slower that I write, the worse my penmanship. Of course, the faster I write, the worse my writing tends to be as well. So there is that.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
So in advance, I apologize for this. I know you're supposed to flex the nib on the downstrokes and have a very light pressure on the upstrokes. Just like this. Just light and then flex and then light and then flex. I also know that you're supposed to keep a low angle to the page while you're flexing. Hell, I'd rather use a ballpoint. Nevertheless, some flex nibs are more forgiving than others in that they don't tear your page to shreds or stick into the page like a needle and then send a fine mist of ink shooting across the room when it does stick. And when they do behave, many of them cannot keep up with the needed ink flow and will railroad just after a couple of strokes. One of the very best behaved flexible nibs I've ever experienced is my Pilot Falcon. It is 14 karat gold and has a really cool claw nib to it, but it is super flexible. So you get lots of flex out of that nib. And it is relatively smooth. You can hear that feedback. But it allows upstrokes and downstrokes. So back to the Aran pen. How does it flex? Well, on the downstrokes, it's a champ. Look at that. It is rather stiff.
Are we not saying phrasing anymore? Which, that's fine, whatever, but if we're doing a new thing and nobody told me, that I'd have a problem with.
And the feed seems to keep up better than either the BlueDew or the Lorelei. But this is very, very sharp on the upstrokes. I cannot write with it on the upstrokes as it digs into the page. It might be me, but this stroke is very scratchy. This one's okay. That stroke, it's already dug some paper. So I know I'm supposed to go with a lighter stroke and then a heavier stroke, and a lighter stroke and a heavier. But with the upstrokes, you either have to put absolutely no weight on the nib to get a hairline, or it sticks in the page and scratches across the page, making your writing look like the card your 90-year-old grandma gave you for your birthday with a quarter scotch taped inside and a note that said, Get yourself something nice, dear.
Oh, some tea would be lovely. So,
I suppose if you're a master calligrapher,
Asta thespian!
which I am not, this is a very flexible nib with a huge line variation and good ink supply, and would be useful to you as you spend an hour writing Happy Bar Mitzvah Irving on a card in copperplate.
What is this? Happy Bar Mitzvah Irving? Who the hell is Irving? How are we going to eat this? This is a Jewish cake, kid.
The BlueDew is much more forgiving, much more flexible, and certainly allows those upstrokes a lot easier than the Erin Flex. The pen does have some issues with ink starvation, however. With all that ink being laid down on the page, it tends to railroad after a bit. And now you'll watch, it's behaving very nicely right now. But this is way, way more flexible and less stiff than the Erin pen. The upstrokes on the BlueDew don't tear up my page like they do on the Erin. And the Lorelei feels even stiffer than the Erin pen, but again is much more forgiving in the upstroke. And it tends to railroad after a bit as well, but it doesn't have the degree of line variation that the Erin pen does. So I'm not doing any reverse or quick writing or even a quote, because the quote would look like it's written in Sanskrit. I'll link my comparison review of the BlueDew and the Lorelei in the description for your reference to see how those pens write. In the meantime, what do I like and what do I not like about this fountain pen? First of all, let me begin by thanking Ruben of Erin Pens for providing this pen for review and promptly answering my questions. But I have to take issue with some of the Erin Pen claims and some of the comments on their website. Erin Pens confirmed this pen is made by a major OEM pen manufacturer in China, following their proprietary designs from Australia. I believe it is made in China, probably in the same place as both the BlueDew and the Lorelei, but I'm skeptical about the design aspect, as the nib and feed are identical to the Lorelei. The Erin website says it's a common misconception that an ebonite feed is superior to plastic, and that the ebonite is good at supplying ink, but not so good at regulating the flow. To that I have to say pish-posh, poppycock, and balderdash. In other words, I disagree. My ebonite feeds are superior to the plastic, and either I'm in possession of a particularly scratchy flex nib on this pen as an anomaly, or most of the nibs behave just like this one. In that case, those videos of slow motion, smooth, flexy writing in glorious calligraphy and swooping inky curves are just hype. I can't believe they would give me a pen for evaluation that was not one of their finest examples. The pen itself is substantial and well made. I'm not adverse to the metal section, as it is very, very smooth and very comfortable and not slick at all. The pen actually feels lovely in the hand. I love this blue acrylic, and the pen is very handsome, but I don't believe the nib is worth the markup from the Chinese version of around 30 bucks. The BlueDew nib does deliver on the smoothness and the soft flex, as the nib has been modified for that purpose. So there is some value added to the BlueDew. Personally, I wouldn't buy a BlueDew either at that price, because as I said before, I suck at flex writing.
How come you suck?
I lack confidence.
The cool thing about the Lorelei is that it came with a flex nib and a regular nib. I put the regular nib in it, and it is a really nice pen that writes. Now, it might be true that I'm not qualified to judge a proper flex writing pen. I admit that. But I find it hard to believe that someone who has trained and practiced the art of calligraphy with real flex pens would find this instrument acceptable. Let me know in the comments if you are a flexer and you know of a technique to keep the nib from digging into the page, like your cat's claws digging into your thigh when it's dinner time.
Help! My pussy's gone crazy!
And there you have it. Thanks go out to Erin Pens for providing this pen for review, as well as to Janice Butterworth for the loan of her BlueDew once again. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. And don't forget that you can join as a member of my channel for only 99 cents a month, and I guarantee I will answer your comments in the comment section, and you get cool emojis and badges too. And that just leaves it for me to say, thank you. For watching. And that's all she wrote.